Well, good afternoon and welcome to Integrative Preparedness. How are you all today? I'm Steve Smith, if you don't know who I am. This bit with Trump, especially what happened in Georgia last night, was icing on the cake. This very possibly could be paving the way to a civil war in the United States. It'll be the first civil war the United States has ever had. I know that's a surprise to many. If you want to understand why that is, hang around for a minute. First off, for you stone modders, the latest, I think it's part 13 of the Reversion Audible, is now available on the Patreon channels of both the Integrative Preparedness Patreon and the Stone Mod Patreon channel. And for those of you who have come over to the Stone Mod channel, whether it's YouTube or Patreon, welcome. It's great to see so many of you coming over there. That's where I discuss more just about the Stone Mod world. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, hang around. I'll talk about it later at the end of this video. But tonight, after I'm done with this one, I'm going to make one for the Stone Mod channel about why I started writing the books, why I started writing the Stone Mod series. I think a lot of people don't know why. I think some of you will be interested in that. And then I'll follow it up with another one, maybe tomorrow or the next day, about how I write them. And most people don't know how I do it, and they're very surprised when they find out how I write these books. And if you're new to us here and you're surprised that I write books, yes, that's what I do. I'm not really a YouTube guy. The only reason I got on YouTube was to talk about my books and explain some of the lessons in them. But yes, I'm a writer, and I've written a number of novels about how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse of everything. And those lessons apply to what's going on today, as well as the scenario that I put in my books. So I'll cover more of that at the end for you stone modders. I'll let you know a little bit more about that. This could start a civil war. I've seen a number of channels out there talking about, Civil War II. I mean, it's not just recently. It's been going on for several years. But this could be Civil War II, and whether it's a revolution or all that. It looks, there's never, let me explain this, because I know we have people out there hopping up and down, screaming, Steve, you don't know what you're talking about. Didn't you hear about the Civil War in high school history class? And those are the people who all they know about that unfortunate situation is what they learned in high school history class, what they were taught by the winners and in their government schools. And it amazes me who so many people who challenge and kind of doubt what they hear from the government just swallow whole those kinds of things. Let me explain here so you'll understand why we may very well be getting into a civil war now because of what's happening with Trump, and how much more dangerous it very possibly could be than that last thing in the 1860s they improperly call a civil war. And then I'm going to talk about what to do about it. And this is something to be taken seriously. This is not about, be afraid, be afraid. I hear a lot of people talking about that, but I don't hear a lot of people going beyond the be afraid, okay? And if you're here, you need to be able to take a deeper dive than just yelling and screaming and buying the t-shirt. That thing in the 1860s was not a civil war. The southern states had big problems with the northern states. It was not just about slavery. Slavery came into it, but slavery only came into it because as a part of the federal government's will to impose their will on the property and the southern states through legislation and through taxes and through tariffs and all sorts of things to impose their will on the South. And the slavery stuff was drummed up, and that war was really drummed by the abolitionists. It ought to be called the Abolitionists' War, because it got people inflamed, just like things get inflamed nowadays, okay? People get inflamed, and they go out yelling and screaming and fighting about things they don't know the first thing about, but they think they know everything about. Okay, so the South it would take me forever. I write about it in my books if you'd like to learn about it. The South finally said, you know what? We're not going to allow you to overreach. Government overreach, anybody? Overreach your proper constitutional powers and impose your will on us improperly. We're leaving. Okay? We are leaving the Union. We are seceding from the Union, which was their right. I go into that in detail. So don't anybody leave a comment here from their history teacher in high school saying, they left and they seceded. They were no longer part of the Union. Okay? And at first it was 7 states, and then it went up to 11 and then 13. Well, kind of 13. What happened then was that Lincoln did something very interesting for a president. See if this rings some bells here. He imposed unconstitutional laws on the people. Ring a bell? Yeah. So he sent out a message to all the states and said, I want every state to send in X number of people from your states, from your state militias. I want 70,000 troops to invade the South, which was no longer a part of the United States. It was a sovereign country, separate from the United States. It was the Confederate States of America. I want 70,000 troops to invade the South and force them to stay in the Union. That started that war that some people improperly call the Civil War. You see, why it's improperly called a Civil War is because a Civil War is when you have 2 or more factions fighting over control of the same government. The South didn't want any control over the federal government of the United States. They were no longer a part of it. They said, we're divorced from you. So that was not a civil war. Okay. As a result, the federal government destroyed half of America. And if you want to know some truths about slavery that most people don't know, it's in my books too. Okay. I'll save that for another time. I've covered that on other videos. This could be a real civil war because we have almost an equal number of people on both sides of the political spectrum who want, one side wants control of the government so they can have control over the rest of the people. And then we have the other side that wants to stop them from having control of the government so they don't have that improper control of them. So essentially, both sides are right now fighting for control of the government. We do that through, well, we used to do that through voting. We do that through our political process. The problem now is the political process has been breaking down so long that it is now, if not totally broken, very close to it. Every time they load more of this stuff on Trump, I don't care if you like Trump or not. I can't imagine being for what the federal government and these state prosecutors are doing if you have a living brain cell in your head or have the smallest concern for constitutional rights. Okay, that's where this starts. We have half of our country almost now. I mean, it's sad to say, half of our company is almost communist. Okay? They are the ones in control of too many places. Now, they're not in control of every place, but they are in control of every major city. That's why they are in control of so many votes. But because they are in control of all these people who don't know anything, don't create anything, lay in the hammock of welfare, and just identify as victims. They've done a very good job, the Democrat Party, very good job of cobbling together a group of victim groups who feel like everything is the fault of, pick your demon. The conservatives, the Republicans, the white man, whatever it is, These people are simply victims, but the thing is, they have gotten they've gotten power. And you can say it was with the help of George Soros and all that. Yeah, it is. It is. I get it. Doesn't matter why. What matters is it is. And as we watch this, we know exactly what they're doing. They're taking this. By the way, if I put this over on American Reversion, because we're getting into politics, welcome to American Reversion as well. Check the stuff that I've put on the Patreon channel on American Reversion. You'll want to see it. So the more they load on, we know why they're doing it. They want to ruin Trump. They want to break him with legal fees. They think they're going to get people to side against him when they bring all this stuff down. But of course, the support for Trump just grows every time they do that. And that's because there's so many people in our country who understand the depth of the corruption of this government and one political party. Doesn't mean that people in the other party are not corrupt. They are, okay? But this happens to be driven by the people in the Democrat Party right now. If we go to the Republican side, I can find a few that I don't think are corrupt, but I tell you what, I can find a lot more that are. This really is about what's going to happen to this country. And I think that the persecution, because it's no longer a prosecution, the stuff they're bringing up on this stuff is ridiculous. It is a persecution of a former president. It's the persecution of the leading candidate of the opposition party. It is, as many others have said, this is third world politics. This is communist politics. This is exactly how they've won around the world, and this is how they think they're going to win now. Maybe they will win politically. The question is going to be whether this is going to drive the rest of the American people to a point to where they will finally say, I won't take this anymore. Now, we've had people over the last few years, the ones who said, somebody's got to stand up, or people who watch videos like this and say, what are you doing about it? And we know they're not doing anything about it. They're just S-sters, and I won't say the S word on here. They're just S-sters. They're sitting in their basement with their black T-shirts with some cool saying, from one of the founders on it, and going, yeah, what are we going to stand up? Meaning somebody else has to stand up. Nobody's impressed with the people who talk big. But as I've said before, this will never stop until enough people are uncomfortable enough or angry enough at the same time. The question is this what's going to do it? And it could. I'm not going to say that it will, but I think this is the closest thing that I've seen that could. So what happens if that happens? Wow. I mean, there are so many variables there. As we get through this, as we get into the primary season, especially after the first of the year, as we see how the court cases go in Trump. These court cases are weak. I'm not a lawyer, but I have some background in constitutional law and such. And I never lost a case in court. Just a second. I got to talk to Mrs. Snerdley for a minute. Okay, we have to take one of our vehicles into our mechanic. So everything they've got against him is a load of crap, and you know that. But they're going to keep bringing it. The sad thing is, half the country is so stupid they believe all this. You can't move them. You can't fix them. Either they are 100% commie, in which case they think this is great, or they are 100% stupid, in which they don't see the problem, okay? Now, commie stupid, right? We're going to see what happens. What I would suggest, if this country goes into a civil war, it's not going to be like that other war, the war of northern aggression. It's not going to be by states. It's going to be I'd like to say, well, I wouldn't like to say, but I would say, that it's going to be between big cities and non-big cities. Can't say that anymore, because really a lot of the smaller counties and towns are being filled up with this kind of trash. The war, if it comes, a civil war, is going to be financial, it's going to be digital. The things written on people's t-shirts aren't going to help, except in self-defense, because the other side will attack. After a certain point, I think that might drive a response. I don't know when that would be, and I don't know what it would take. It'll take a lot, I'll tell you that. But until that time, a true civil war will be between political jurisdictions, be they states, counties, cities, whatever. There will be conflicts within states, between cities. There will be conflicts between states, or between cities and other states. It will be financial. Beware of your bank being shut down. Beware of your financial services being cut off. It will be digital economic. Beware of everything that you do digitally being, and I'm sure all of you are, being followed, being watched, being, whatever. If a civil war does happen, be ready for a lot of things to be shut down if you are not carrying, the right candle. You have to be prepared for that. How do you get prepared for that? It's tough, because it's not like everything goes down for everybody, like in my books. So everybody's pretty much on the same level. No. It's going to be down. It's going to go down. You're going to be like the South, but it's not going to be geographical. It's going to go down for the people who are not on board with the powers that be. That puts you in a world where you are denied access to your, whatever, your banks, your money, whatever. You're denied the ability to fully function and participate in the system. So what do? Okay. You have to live outside of that system. I've talked before about the underworld. I'm going to talk more about that. I do that on Patreon. I don't do that on YouTube, where every idiot floating by will make some ridiculous comment. For the Patreon, if you're not with us on Patreon really is for the thinkers. It's definitely the level up. Okay, if you're not with us and you're really serious about this stuff and you are a thinker, the link to Patreon is down below. I'll tell you what, our community on Patreon is just exploding. And the quality over there is so far above the YouTube quality of viewers and commenters. And I don't mean to disparage many of our viewers and commenters on YouTube, because many of them are excellent. But my point is, you belong on Patreon, okay? Because there's a lot more stuff over there. And we have an outstanding community section of extremely smart people with a lot of knowledge from a lot of different areas, and you will learn a lot. I learn a lot over there, okay, besides the extra stuff I put over there. You're going to need to be able to live outside the system. You're going to need to be your own provider, your own defense, your own intelligence agency. You think the people who are your friends are really your friends? If a real civil war comes along, the people you thought were your friends, they're the ones that be turning you in. Yeah. Never be afraid of your enemies, as the saying goes, because you know they're your enemies. You keep an eye on them. The real danger is the ones you think are your friends. That's going to come home to a lot of people, sadly. Max out your preparedness. Everything you can do to prepare. Start now. I think you have some time. I'm not one of those that says you got to do it now, you got to do it. Well, you need to start now if you haven't, or you need to increase it now. I think there is some time. When we're really going to see this, whether this happens or not, is going to be around the election of 2024. I don't even think if they put Trump in jail before then, it would happen. But we are going to see it around the election of 2024. Okay? That gives you time. You've got a little over a year. Start now. Start now on everything. And concentrate. What should I concentrate on, Steve? Concentrate on everything. There is nothing you don't need to improve on. I do know a few people that I couldn't tell them a single thing they could improve on. Most people aren't in that boat. Improve on everything. Total, complete preparedness. We talk a lot about that on Patreon. You know what I get on YouTube when I say total, complete preparedness? I get a bunch of people go, nobody can do that. Whiners, okay? Don't be a whiner and don't sell yourself short. If you want to be steamrolled like the South was, and you want your entire life ruined, smashed to pieces, all of your freedoms taken from you, do nothing. If you want to fight against it, the time to start, well, was years ago, but if you didn't, the time to start is now. And if you did start years ago, the time to increase those efforts is now and for the next year. I think this is potentially the most dangerous time in our history. Even more so than that war back in the 1860s. I think things could happen as a result of what's going on that most people can't even imagine, don't want to. Because it's complicated and it's hard to get ready for. But use your head, figure it out, and get ready for it. Okay, I'll say a couple of things. What I said at the beginning. Yes, the part 13 of the reversion is now available. Let me get these books up here. I didn't have them ready for you. Is now available on the Patreon channel of Integrative Preparedness and on the Patreon channel of the Stonemont channel, the new channel to where I talk all about the Stonemont world. I did that because we have so many people around the world who just love the Stonemont series, love the people in it, love the story, love to talk about the story, and I put that in because the Integrative Preparedness channel isn't the place for me to talk about Stonemont and you know why I do the things and discuss the characters and discuss the plots and discuss why I do certain things, why I said things, all that. That's what the Stonemont channel is for. If you're a real Stonemonter, come over there and be a part of us. If you're already watching the audibles of the reversion on the Patreon channel of Integrative Preparedness, you don't have to join that one over there unless you want to. You know, I'll probably be doing extra stuff over there on that Patreon. So we will see. We will see. But whichever way you do, it's great to have you. Remember, now these are available for those who don't know and all those who didn't know that I was a writer. Yes, these are available either through Amazon or from me directly at our website, stonemont.us. stonemont.us. If you want them fast, get them through Amazon. If you want them signed by me, which I love to do, get them through our website, stonemont.us. There's a place on your order form that says, would you like Steve to write something in there? And you can say, yes, I'd like him to write this to me, or anything he'd like, or to my Uncle Bob, or to, congratulations to so-and-so. I have a lot of people buying sets for gifts and things like that, and I love to do that. So do that. Remember, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. There could be America's first Civil War coming our way. It will be probably the most horrendous thing we've ever seen. If you're not prepared for it, man, I don't know what to tell you. I'll just say prepare for it, because you don't want to be in that mess if you haven't. Okay? You all have a good day. I'll see you on Patreon if you come over there. If you're not, I'll see you back here on YouTube probably tomorrow or the next day. Bye-bye.